Chapter 21, let's keep reading. The attack is coming from the undead. They are vampires. They're crossing the lake. The army needs to break the ice with sledgehammers, giant ass sledgehammers, to keep them from crossing the lake. All of a sudden, there's a voice in the distance calling to Fisher. He misses Fisher. The voice is Malcolm, king of the vampires, I'm pretty sure. And he's saying that they just talked a few weeks ago, kind of undermining morale. Chapter 22, so this book does have chapter titles, and this chapter is called The Itch, because there is an itch between Ceres and Fisher that needs to be scratched. Fisher takes Ceres back home to Kalish, and the first thing that's on his mind is that Ceres shared food with Carrion, and he's mad about it. Anyone else he'd be okay with, but not Carrion. Okay, jealous. Ceres is like, can we talk about the horde of vampires that almost made its way to us? And Fisher's like, nah, like, no worries. That happens all the time. We're dancing around the two topics. Malcolm is a high fae, but he's also a vampire, and he wanted to stay a vampire because he likes the power. Also, they're truly immortal versus high fae, which are just like kind immortal. Malcolm is a powerful enough vampire to turn someone else into a vampire without them losing their soul, meaning like they remain themselves, but they're bound to him, they're under his control. And during this whole conversation, Ceres is calling Fisher out. She's like, hey, the Fisher that I knew in the war camp and the Fisher that I know here are not the same person. It's like, you don't hate me? You're just putting up a front. The tension is building. The banter is bantering. And they finally get it on. And then as soon as this all ends, he gets up, gets dressed, says, you're staying here tonight, and leaves. After they hooked up last night, Ceres now has a bird tattoo on her chest, which may or may not fade, question mark, question mark. So it never says what kind of bird it is, but in my mind, it's a kingfisher. First things first, whenever Ceres gets back to the war camp, Fisher's like, hey, we're going to the healer for a contraception. And she's like, oh, I can't have kids. 70% of the girls in my ward are sterilized by age 14. Fisher is trying to hide what I feel is probably rage, and he sends Ceres to find the forge on her own. While she's working, Carrion's hanging out reading, and he says, did you know the Avelian Fae are the youngest of the Fae houses? By 1,000 years, there was a dispute between two brothers, and they splintered off to make their own court. That's a very important sentence to just drop, so I'll be looking out for that as we go. Carrion's grandmother, back in Zilvarn, has a book about the Fae that has a note that says, commit all you read here to memory. Prepare for war. Easter eggs and lore always have me just like, huh, what? They do a bunch of experiments. Everything fails. Fisher shows up. They're taking a lunch break. He's not happy with how the experiments went today. And Ceres makes a point. She's like, hey, you hide the Quicksilver from me, which then takes the majority of my time trying to find the Quicksilver. And I could get more done if you stopped doing that. And he says, you never know when you may need to detect small amounts at a great distance. Foreshadowing. He's also being an ass to Carrion because there's like a whole jealousy thing going. And Carrion's like, you should get laid. And then he calls Ceres Sunshine. And we get, don't call her sunshine, because she is moonlight, the mist that shrouds the mountains, the bite of electricity in the air before a storm, the smoke that rolls across a battlefield before the killing starts. You have no idea what she is, what she could be. You should call her Majesty. Oof, come back tomorrow for chapter 24.